Determine the growth factor. Well, first let's talk about what the growth factor is. So this happens when we have values that are increasing exponentially. So if we have exponential growth, we could have a growth factor. So this usually comes in the form of a percent increase. And with this percent increase, that's how you know you have exponential growth, right? If we have linear growth, it is a constant numeric change, right? You add 3. But if we have a percent increase, that implies multiplication, and multiplication is exponential growth. So, for example, let's say that we have a value of 10. Okay, I think this is the easiest way to kind of think how this works. If I multiply by 1, I have 10, which means it's constant. So if I multiply by 1.5, right, we're multiplying by 10, that gives me 15. Now we have growth. So a growth factor is going to be greater than 1. Okay, that kind of is how this has to be. Okay, so I'm still on my... So thinking through this, let's say the increase is 20%. Now 20% as a decimal is 0.2. To find a growth factor, we take 1, because we know that 1 is constant, and we add the percent increase. So I would take 1 plus 0.2, and my growth factor would be 1.2. So that would give me a value greater than 1. So that's the idea, is that if you're given a growth factor, you can then, if you're given the percent increase, you add to 1 and it gives you the growth factor. Now there is another way to find the growth factor. The second way is if you have 2 continuous values. Ooh, I can't spell. Continuous values. What is going on? Continuous values. Okay, wow. So the growth factor would be found by taking the most recent divided by the previous value. Okay, so think about if I have week 1 is 20 and week 2 is 30. These are just the 2 things that we're talking about. The most recent would be week 2. So I would take 30 divided by week 1, which is 20, and that would give me 1.5, so that would be my growth factor. So depending on the value that you're given, that's how you find the growth factor. Let's do some examples. Deer in a local forest have a population of 70 with a yearly growth rate of 6%. What is the growth factor? Now you can see in this we have a percent increase. So we're going to think of growth factor is 1 plus the percent increase. Because remember, the growth factor should always be greater than 1. So 6% is the same as 0.06. So I'm going to have 1 plus 0.06 equals 1.06, and that is my growth factor. Anytime you take a value, doesn't matter what it is, in this case maybe 70, and you multiply by the growth factor, you should get a number larger, because we're multiplying by a number greater than 1. Second example, the population of bacteria in a dish grow exponentially. This is important. On day 2, okay, so we have day 2, there were 15 grams of bacteria. On day 3, there were 45 grams of bacteria. What is the growth factor? So you'll notice we have no percent increase, so we can't use that method, but we have 2 sets of information. So I'm going to go with most recent versus the previous. Okay, so most recent is day 3. So 45, day 2 is the previous, 15. 45 divided by 15 is 3. So the growth factor is 3. And because it's greater than 1, we are good to go. And you can see it triples. 15 times 3 gives me 45. That means on day 4, if I would multiply by 3, I'd get 135. So we can even use that to predict which is coming in a different video.